Right. So, a pleasant good morning, everyone, and welcome to the NIBOSH National General Certificate. As I mentioned, I am still kind of somewhat fighting a bit of the cold and not really the cold, but a bit of a sore throat, right? So you will see some stress with that on this morning. But and then we had NIBOSH stuff doing last night, 9 o'clock. So it doesn't really stop anyway, right? I was saying though today we are on chapter 4, and there's a reminder for those who may be getting this recording on tonight. Next week, Saturday is no classes. I am traveling to do some training in Guyana. Um, so whenever that happens, like we don't have the class. If I was free, it's a Saturday, but the training is Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right? I do mention though, and I did mention that the YouTube channel, which you all have access to, have this on it already, the whole lesson, part one, part two, in fact, multiple copies of the same training. Not the same thing because it's different classes, but there are multiple sessions of the same topic then, right? So if you all want, you could run through, your PowerPoint, which is what you have here to finish up the lesson. It's only 37 slides, or I could send you part two as well next week Saturday from Guyana anyway, right? So let's go into this one. The objectives of our session here today. To facilitate meaning towards the following themes, we have 2.1. Give an overview of the elements of a health and safety management system and the benefits of having a formal certified system. So this element is only two things, 2.1 and 2.2, and today is very short. So we can do 2.1 today. And when you go on YouTube, if you want, you can do that. You can wait till the following week. You'll see the lesson is statement of intent, organization arrangements, right? Look at here, the three pieces of our policy: statement of intent, which is the policy, organization, and arrangement. And that's part two. Or it may be labeled part two if you don't want to wait, for the next week anyway. So we can go into this one. The so just getting into chapter two without getting into chapter two. We can say there's always a chapter two question. Remember, every chapter have to be tested, right? Chapter one was kind of long. Chapter two is short. Like if we can finish chapter two today, which I don't want to do because on the agenda, chapter two is on the number of hours, then chapter two is carded to be like 2 sessions long, right? So I don't want to finish it today, even though it's just about 30 something slides, right? We can more than finish it, but I don't want to. I want to leave some for the other week. So there's always a chapter two question, but it could vary, right? So it's kind of not too predictable. The next chapter one, the HSW Act, like you could predict, the duty of the employer, duty of the employee. You could predict this and that, but it have some unpredictable elements about it, right? Like in 2.1, I will show you what's the most common question, right? But it have other small questions here, other small questions there. There is a common question in 2.1, right? So when we get to it, I'll kind of pause and I'll show it anyway, right? And that should be it for today. I was saying today we'll finish a bit early, maybe around 10:15. Give me a chance to rest my voice a bit before the next class, right? So feel free to take part. I don't want you all just to log in and not say anything. Feel free to take part as we go along, as that would assist me as well in my voice this morning. All right, so we have the rule of the health and safety policy. I'll just read this one out. They say the rule of the policy provides focus on organization in terms of in terms of health and safety. Second point, provides focus on organization in terms of self-regulation. Third point, demonstrates visible management commitment to health and safety. And the last point, it serves as a means of continual improvement. I'll read another one, right? And then I'll explain a bit. In fact, no, I don't really have anything more. So let me just take it from here. Yeah, the lesson is actually that short, right? So let's kind of back up a bit, right? In terms of what is a health and safety policy, right? So they talk about the role of the policy, and the thing is all about the policy, right? The general policy and stuff, right? But what is the policy, right? And I'll tell you the answer for it. So you could listen a bit and see if you could identify with it. So most companies would have like a policy book, right? Like a booklet, and that would have in it like the history of the company, when was the company founded, who is the managing director, what's the goal of the company, right? What's the vision of the company? And it would have in it things like relevant to the company then, like the dress code, um, their values, their belief, what it is, they want to do with their company. And that is like the health and safety policy of a company. Now, coming out of that, listen to it a bit, coming out of that booklet, there is like there is like a one-page document that you all may have seen coming out of the booklet. There's like a one-page document that gets itself laminated and placed on the company's notice board or around the company. Have you ever seen like when you go to a company, I guess even like a service company like GPL, TN Tech, WASA, B-Mobile, Digicel, have you ever seen like when you go to, and of course the industrial companies, if you all are familiar with, of course those in Trinidad, those in Guyana as well, right? If you drive into, like where Schlumberger is at in Guyana or Gisby or where Exxon is at anyway, you'd start to see some signs now, right? And if you get into the compound, you'd see like they would say, we at Atlantic LNG or we at BP, we are committed to a safe place of work. We are committed, to your welfare. We are committed to risk assessments. And I've actually seen it. Well, of course, here in Trinidad, I've seen it in furniture stores. I've seen it like in courts. I've seen it in, there's a big furniture store. For those of us in Guyana, there's one called Fens, right? And have you all ever seen those things, right? Like, have you all ever seen that one page that I'm talking about? So you could unmute your mics and let me know.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So what about the rest of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so good, right? So I'll give you an example of some of them. Now, some of the more common ones, you'll see like a lot of workers have it. So what I'm trying to tell you is that that's what this topic is about now. Like, okay, laws was laws, negligence is negligence. But as I say, let's back up a bit because when you read this slide, you're not really understanding what it is you're talking about, right? So like I said, there's also a difference between reading and explanation. Anybody could read and finish 37 slides, but do you understand what they're talking about, right? And remember with NIBOSH, they're not really asking you this enough for the exam. They're not asking you what is the role of the safety policy, but they're asking like maybe, like was the policy effective, right? So some of the more common policies, like the most common one, I'll give you three, right? And then maybe you could give me one. I don't know if you want to write it down. I would not write it down because it's just understanding, right? So the most common policy is safety is my first what?
Priority.
Right. Safety is my first priority. And you've seen it a lot. You've seen it around. Companies have it on their coveralls, they have it in their notice board, they have it on the vehicles, they have it, in the company book, they have it on top of their all their documents. Safety is my first priority. Um, somebody had told me Exxon zone, but I forgot. But Exxon owns was real simple. It was real simple. It wasn't nothing, like because you say Exxon, you think it's something deep, but it was as like real simple, like safety is everybody business or something. Something very like something very simple. So those of us in Trinidad, Atlantic LNG, which is a huge gas facility on the island, their safety policy, if you get into their compound, get into their documents, you see their safety policy is, and you can take this one down, so you have an idea what the topic is all about, right? Is we will do the job safely. So I could take it down as an example of the policy. So when you say what's the rule of the policy? So if a company says, we will do the job safely or not at all, right? So we will do the job safely or not at all. But then that would help you understand what the slide is trying to say. Because it says now, the first point says the policy provides focus for an organization. So if you say we will do the job safely, then you're not waiting on the law. You're not waiting on OSHA. You're not waiting on the Ministry of Labor. You said we will do the job safely or not at all. Unless if you're saying it and not meaning it. right? Second point, it provides focus for the organization in terms of self-regulation. It demonstrates visible management commitment to health and safety. Now, for those of us who have seen that one pager that makes it to the notice board and throughout the company, right? Anybody notice what's at the bottom of that one pager? Like there's actually something at the bottom of it. What do you think could be at the bottom of that one page document? That would help you with point number 3. So the next time you go, well, if you go to Flow to pay a bill, those of us in Trinidad, or Digicel or B Mobile or Wassa or TNTech, just watch on the wall. TNTech have it right there. I suppose GPL have it right in front as well. Anybody knows what's at the bottom of the one page? You want to make a guess? Like what's at the bottom of after the company say we're going to provide safe access egress, take care of your welfare, we committed to zero accidents. What do you think you see at the bottom of that form?
So at my company, the president's signature and the
Very
date is on it.
That is it, right? So please take a note. You see, those things you don't pick it up from the reading then, right? But and it's not in the book anyway to but this is what it is, right? That one pager gets a signature from the most important person in the company. So please take a note of that, right? Now, like we're not talking about it because it's not important. We're talking about it because it is important. You see, when you get a case study and the case study said that the company had a policy document that was developed, but no one knew about it for the last 10 years, right? When they say the policy document has not been signed by the current safety manager, then these are the things that they're looking for you. Remember, NEBOSH exam is not regurgitate, right? NEBOSH exam is comment on, right? So this is the question I'm studying that these are the things that you get where they say comment on if the policy was effective. But when you read it and you see the signature was of the last safety manager 6 years ago, well, then you have to say, well, then that does not show management commitment. Because if the current policy is signed by this safety manager 6 years ago, then it's not updated, right? So most policies have a line, they would say like, we will strive for continual improvement. So that's why I sort of ended off with this one. And tell me if you understand it now, what the class is all about. This element is not like element 1. This element is more kind of practical. This element is about that one page, not really one page, because remember it comes from a booklet, right? But then they extract a page and they put that page, throughout the company. This lesson is kind of about that. When I say kind of, because actually part of that is next week too, right? But today's own, I mean, I think we had to start there, right? Today class though is actually going to go into, if you go back to 2.1, go into safety management systems. But the first element of a safety management system is the policy, right? Next week or the week after, if you look at it on the channel anyway, you'll see that we're going to go into the 3 pieces of the policy next week and the week after. You'll get a video by next week. You can get it today too because I told it on YouTube already, right? But we review it now, right? As long as if I let you be on your own with it anyway. All right. So I was saying that the policy, if you watch here, the policy is the first element of a safety management system. So I think we need to stop and talk about what is a safety management system. But let me read one slide or 2 slides, and then this is where the lesson finished, and this lesson finished right here. That's a short chapter 2 is, right? That's a chapter we could have finished, but I don't want to. I want to make the hours with it, right? So let's read out 2 slides here, and then I'll kind of tell you what a safety management system is. So the publication HSG 65 follows the principle of plan, do, check, and act cycle, known as the PDCA cycle. Plan means establish standards for health and safety. Do, implement plans to achieve objectives and standards. Check, measure progress with plans and compliance standards. Act, review against objectives and standards and take appropriate action. So this is like a picture, I guess, representation of the plan, do, check, act cycle. But from what I said, I don't know where to start with this one. How far to go back? So I think I'll go back at the beginning, right? So at the beginning, if you don't know what a safety management system is, The simplest way to tell her that, and you can take notes too, because I mean, all of these things is not exam, and these things is just for you to understand. They're not going to ask you what is a safety management system. They're also not going to ask you to draw and label anything, but it's to understand like where we could go with this, right? So if you have never heard about safety management systems before, the best way to tell you what a safety management system is a collection of folders. That's the simplest way to tell it. It's like a folder, but folders. I have one here. I have many here, in fact. Trying to think if to show you a big one or a small one. So this is like when a company say a safety management system is like a folder, right? So why is it called a safety management system? Is that what it does now? It helps you to organize everything, right? So like how we now talked about the policy there. If a client, like bidding for a job, a client say, well, do you have a HSE policy? Like, what is your company policy, right? Now, it'll be in the folder. If they say, have you done, remember they said check-in if you're watching, remember the slide before said check-in? So have you done inspections? Could you send us the last 4 inspections they did, right? So you have it folder off now, right? And some companies have 11, well, or 12 or 15 different, I have different folders, so I'll tell you, I just want to see which one to show you, right? So they are different folders, but the thing is, it's a series of folders then, right? So when you say, right, like when you say management system, the simplest way I'll tell you is that it is a group of folders that helps you to manage what you have. Hence the name management system. It helps you to organize them. So if you want, please take that down. If you don't know what a management system is, it helps you to organize and put your things in place. You could think of it like that, like all the planning documents in one place, all the doing documents in one place, all the check-in documents one place. But then there are many check-in documents and like there are inspections, so all the inspections will be in one place. There are audits, all the audits will be in one place. All the tours will be in one place, all the samples will be in one place. You understand? So that's how you end up with many folders, right? So at the very simplest level, a management systems helps you to organize your stuff, right? Think you understand that? That's the simplest way we could tell you. The other way now is that the management systems actually have names. Yeah, so when you organize your thing together, you could decide to become certified in it. That's the next thing about management system. You could get a certificate for it, but you have to pay, right? You have to pay the body or the entity that will certify you, and it's kind of expensive, right? And I think the least you could get a management system for is 20,000 TT. That's the least. You could probably spend like 60 to 100,000 TT to get a management system to get it organized, right? The reason is that there are many costs. Like if so, this is something that I do, right? I think you all know like I'm a consultant as well, right? Even before I was teaching Nibosh. So if if a company then comes and they call here, they say, okay, look, we want to get certified in ISO, or you want to get certified in another management system, right? Can you come in and tell us what you want done? So we will go in and do something called a gap analysis. So we start from here. We actually start from the policy. We actually start from, do you have a policy? And if you don't have it, right? Do you have, like what again is in policy? Do you have like the rules and responsibilities of your staff? Do you have an org chart? Now, the more they don't have is the more I have to do. And the more I have to do is the more I will charge. You understand this, folks? Right? So like I mean I'm doing 3 right now, 2 of them wrapping up, right? And so, what I'm saying is that like it's not cheap to the company then, because a typical, like one of my consultancy work is like maybe 30 to 40 to 50,000 TT, right? So that's why I say it's not cheap. And then on top of paying the person to prepare, you have to pay the body to come and certify you, and that's like another 20,000. So that's 70,000 right there. And then in the preparation, if the company had to be trained, this is under doing. If the workers were not trained in risk assessments, they're not trained in first aid, not trained in defensive driving, that's additional things you have to pay for. So that's why to become certified in it after you have the folders, if you want to get the certificate, please understand where I'm going with this because it is a question hidden up here, right? Um, watch the question if I can go down with it, right? I was telling you all, and I hope you all do take notes, right? I was telling you all, there's a question here. The most common question is this, like, what's the benefit of the company? Why would they do that? Why would they go through all the trouble? We'll come to this just now, right? Why go through all the trouble of full line of everything, printing everything? It's a lot of printing. You all see these things I have here, right? I tell you, the companies just have 11 of those, right? And it's huge folders and it's a lot of work, right? So why go through all of that? Why spend this 100,000 TT? You could compare it back in Guyana by money time by TT1, of course, right? Why do all of this? Anybody know the answer for that? Why put yourself through all that trouble? There are many answers for that, huh? There are many answers for that. But why do you think a company would go through that set of finances? And why would they put themselves through that process of being audited and consulted, like me coming and telling you that, your risk assessments are no good, or, you have to redo them, or your workers need to be trained. So there's more money and more money and more money. Why would the companies do that? Anybody know?
To safeguard the company.
You really think so? Anybody else? You think companies that safety-minded in Trinidad that they'll spend $100,000 to safeguard their company? What do you think is the real reason why?
I think
Anyone?
in case anything had to go to court, they could show that they did the proper steps.
Yeah, all of those are answers. I think, like, remember, that is a benefit. I mean, so, like, what you're discussing there, you know, what you're discussing there is the answer, but it's not the real reason. Come on, man. People don't really do that in Trinidad and Guyana. The only reason why a company going through all of that trouble is because a
And
client
to
asks
get
for it.
jobs also.
Yeah, a client asks them for it. A client asks for it. And if they don't have it, they cannot get a tender. That's the only reason why, right? So I don't know if you know, in Trinidad and Tobago and around the world, what I was telling you now, these things have names, right? So there are some companies like, like BP and Exxon and Atlantic LNG. As a contractor, they will tell you, well, sorry, you are the contractor. You are Nabi, or you are Hanif Mohammed, or you are SIS in Trinidad, or you are Dimas or whatever, right? But they're telling you, for you to come to get a tender, you have to be certified with a management system. That's what they do. This is not an if and a. That's why companies do it, right? So for you to get a tender, you have to be certified with a management system. We have a couple of them out there. We have ISO, we have STOW in Trinidad and Tobago, STOW. It stands for Safe to Work. For those of us in Trinidad, you should take this down.
I
If
heard
you're in
about
Guyana,
those.
there's no need to take it down. And there's also the one we're looking at here, which is the PDCA cycle. So there are a couple of management systems out there, right? To me, the most important one is ISO. However, in Trinidad and Tobago, those of us who are here, this is the most popular one in Trinidad. This is like folks, I'm trying to use some words to help you describe, because if I say it another way, you mightn't understand. If I tell you this is very important, you won't understand that. You think I'm making joke, right? But in Trinidad and Tobago, stew is like a mafia. That's what it is. It's like a mafia. Like, you know what mafia is do? Like, they force you to do something. So they force you to pay rent or whatever, right? So that's what stew is in Trinidad and Tobago. If in Ghana, you mightn't understand. But companies who want to go to Paria, Atlantic, PCS, wherever, right? Metanex, right? Wherever you want to go, even if you're cutting grass, some of y'all must know what I'm talking about. You're fixing AC, you're cutting grass as a contractor. You have the contract to cut grass. He was telling you, right? You still have to be certified with STO. So why would a grass cutting company go through and get 11 folders, pay close to $100,000? Do they really want to safeguard their company? Never, right? What they want that tender. They want the tender. Now they may spend 100,000, but then that's just, that's like a 2-year fee. The next time they do to it wouldn't be so expensive anymore. It'll be less because you already have it. The tenure they get though may bring in about let's say 500,000 TT, right? So this is why some companies do it. Another reason, I don't know if you could give me another one, but big companies, right? Remember, it's not just grass cutting companies that do management systems. Banks in Guyana, Caribbean, Trinidad, SMG Lille, Angostura, wherever you could think about, right? Big companies then, right? Big companies, they like to, well, if you are a manufacturer, I don't know if you all know this, a manufacturing company has a lot of money. If you are SMG Lille, if you are banks, right? You have a lot of money. So a lot of companies, what they do, they use the money to get certificates. So another reason is like they will get it for a quality reason now. So if you wonder why would a company spend 100,000 TT or how much Guyanese, right? Is because number one, like okay, like Massey have a lot of money. I remember I actually work for them. They don't mind spend that money because they're not really doing nothing with it. In half day, 4 hours, Massey just make $500,000. There's just one department in Massey, right? So if we say Massey stores, in less than half day, they make $500,000. In less than 4 hours, they make $500,000, right? So what do they do with it? And we talk about every other manufacturing company. So a lot of companies haven't achieved an ISO standard, then they try to keep it up now, right? Amalgamated security. They try to keep it up. So one of the reasons is to ensure quality over a long period of time. So for some companies, it's not a lot of money, right? The small companies, though, look right now, look, a guy called me. I was in Grenada. Long story short, a guy called me, told me he got a contract with, I forget the company, but it's a vessel company, right? So I think it's TCL, I would wonder if it's TCL. I'm saying the wrong thing, maybe, because I know he was with her. I know he was at Metal, but I know Metal closed. I was like, can't be Metal. But he got this contract, right? But they told him he have to get two. So he's operated from home, right? His name is Ryan. I'll tell you his name. And I was like, Ryan, they wouldn't certify it if you're operating a business from home. So when he count the cost, and I told him, look, you had to have about $100,000 if you want to get stove. But I don't know some string he pulled because remember he get the contract in it. He get the contract, right? We don't have the store as yet. So he was asking me if there's anything I could do. But the thing is, no, remember ISO and store, these certifying things, and we can't issue that. It comes from an entity. It like ISO comes from ISO, store comes from the energy chamber, right? Not too sure where PDC it comes from anyway, but it's supposed to be an audited firm in the UK. So we can't do anything. And I told him, well, Ryan, you had to count the cost. Does it make sense? And then since then he didn't get back to me. Right? I told him what to do. I told him, well, my advice to him was, hear what my advice was to him, right? Put everything in order. Put all the folders in place, right? And just go to the company and tell them, well, you have all the documents, but they're not formally certified. And see if they will take that. Like if they ask you for the policy, then you have it. They ask you for the risk assessments, you have it. They ask you, like inspections and audits, you have it. Management review meetings, you have it. So I tell him that could probably work because from what he was saying, like to the end of the conversation was that the money he making on this tender is the same 100,000 TT. So I said there are two things you could do. If you're starting off a business, well, try to get some other tenders to kind of, and it don't have to be that another tender requires two. Try to get your foot in and then, try to get certified with this eventually. But to tell you how it is difficult for small people. So you understand what I mean now that still is a mafia, folks. You understand like the word I use, that it is a mafia. It's not as if smaller companies in Trinidad getting away then. It's like if they have less to pay, it's the same standard that they're being held to as an expensive or a well-off company. So for small companies, 1 man, 2 man, companies is a bit difficult to
I
get
had
these management systems. Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, let's say not hard now for a small company. A
It
small company.
is. It is for him. He I was actually anyway, just another stuff. I like, but I know, look, right now, I do a company that cutting grass around the oil field buildings then, right? I'll say oil field here because if I say I would say Parry and stuff, right? But they make it in right? So because remember grass does grow, right? So that's not a bad business though, grass cutting. And like if they have that, like for a year contract, you just make, but you have to spend too. But the thing is what I'm saying, you cannot get in without this too then, right? I mean, if you get in, eventually they will ask for this too, right? Like right now I'm doing stuff for a company. I'll just say it's a security company. And they working. I don't want to call the company name too. They working for another company in the industrial estate. But it's the same thing now because what happened? They have everything. I did everything for them, but it's just not formally certified, right? So some companies allow you to come in, but then they will say, well, give us a progress report now, like where has your application reached, right? So, some companies hold it off for a year, right? For those of us who know that, like they apply for the audit, but they never go through the audit, right? So I've seen companies do that. They give us a year contract. So let's say you make 500,000, but then you didn't really spend the 100,000. You spent some on me because remember I prepared the documents for you. Probably spent like a 20, 30,000 on me. But the thing is, they didn't go through the formal certificate, so they didn't pay the external body. So some companies have been doing that with the 1 year contracts, and they have been as like a loophole then where they can get a check from the energy chamber, a piece of paper saying, look, you all have applied. And when they ask for the document, remember you get a consultant like me to prepare all for you. So it's like if you didn't have it and then you have the receipt saying you apply. So that's about the loophole in the system. What do you all think about that? But that's what some companies doing, especially with a 1 year contract. The other year though, well, we are read so far with those security companies. The other year, I guess the thing is if they have the documents, they should go through, right? They should go through the audit because remember they have the documents. But remember, it's money to pay now. It's like another 20,000 TT to pay the energy chamber in Trinidad and Tobago here to come and get the audit done. What do you all think? Let's kind of backtrack here, right? So the things to understand here, let's say I backtrack a bit, is that the policy of the company is the first piece of a management system. The policy falls under planning. What is a management system? It helps you to organize your stuff in order. Normally that is physical. You can have all your physical documents in place. And there are some well-known management systems around there. You have ISO, STO is very popular. We had to talk about it for our Trinidad students because in this environment, I told you what I told you. STO is the most popular. So popular as a mafia. If you don't have it, you can't get work. If you have it, you can get work. That's how simple it is, right? PDCA is the one we're looking at. This is the one from the UK. And because the syllabus is UK, then this is the one you have on this slide, right? Tell me if you're okay up to there, if you understand what a management system is, how does a company get it? And we're going to go into now like the benefits of a company being certified. We already have mentioned this, and I already mentioned the reason for the discussion is because that is the passive question. It's not as if the question here, the most common question is what is the benefit? So having understood what I said, maybe you could create some benefits, right? You could get some benefits of your own. You can probably say what a benefit is. Anybody could think of one. Like what's a benefit? And having discussed it in that way where a company will have to get it done. So some of the things he said was correct. Like in the long run, it does reduce the number of accidents. In the long run, it does show the workers that you care. But immediately what it does, it creates an avenue for employment, and the company that is too certified could go to a client, a multinational company in Trinidad and say, we are still certified. Likewise, I guess in Guyana, a company, a contractor that's ISO, you can go to GISB, you can go to Exxon and say, well, we are ISO certified. This is what we provide. This is what I did. How do you think I'm coming across the next week, right? So like I would have gone to GISB and said, look, this is what I'm certified with. I have this license, this license, this license. What service can we provide for you all? The call came and I got a job, right? So I tell them like without the school's license and without the accreditation license, how could I have gotten that job, right? So I tell them that that's a benefit. We spend the money, right? The school, every license you see in the back of me, there is money, right? So we spend the money, but then we make back the money. And we know sometimes make it back in the first job, make it back in the second or the third job anyway, right? tell me if you could give me one or two benefits. I kind of use myself there. And if not, we'll just get it from this slide and we'll kind of try to wrap up there if there's anything. So that's it for today. Anybody could think of a benefit of your company being ISO or STO certified? The thing with these certificates, a person cannot get it. It's not meant for a person. Like, it's a company. Like, Damas Oil and will be ISO certified, right? It's like a company. It's like, Frank and Sons would be certified with STO. STO is not for you then. It's a human being cannot be certified with STO. STO, ISO, PDC are meant for entities anyway. Give me one benefit and we can move on if anybody thought of one. Anyone? While you're thinking, right? While you're thinking, next week, I told you next week Saturday is no classes, right? But also next week was the week for payment, right? So what I'll advise, I'll put it in the group chats, right? That if you're coming by in the week, that'll be fine. Actually, I'm actually leaving on Thursday, but somebody will be here hopefully. And just message me before you do that if you're coming to the office. And then what we'll do, we'll probably leave it for this Saturday when I come back, which is the second Saturday in October. Remember, your fees are due to the boss, right? So we'll try to get out. If you're coming by this week, fine. Till Wednesday, I'm here. And I'm here late in the night. I'm actually here till about 7, 8 o'clock on some nights. And if not, it'll be the following Saturday. Of course, I'll send you an email and I would put out in the group. But I was just saying that as you all wasn't saying anything. Anybody thought of another benefit? Come on, quickly, somebody. Nobody could think of a benefit after having all of that discussion.
What about finance from the bank?
In what sense? So you tell me.
Like being able to take a loan from the bank.
That'd be a good idea, yeah. So that could show your company is stable. Yeah, that's a really nice one. And I never thought about that. Though the reason I say that's a nice one too is because remember there's actually for more than 10 sometimes. So I like what you thought about. I think that's a good answer. Like if your company wanted, maybe you just started a company, invested this set of monies into this store thing. I use in store in Trinidad or I so in Guyana. But then maybe you did get a tender and you have to purchase some equipment or something. So you could show them, look, I have the tender. Look, I am certified with ISOs too. I think that says something about it. I think a financial institution be more willing to assist you like that than if you wasn't, right? Folks, anyway, thanks for the answer. I do have them on the slide here. Let's get to them. So this one here is, let me just read this one for you. I'm gonna bring this up on the slide. So ISO 45001, this standard was inspired by OSA's 18001. Aims to help organization ensure the health and safety of people who work for the organization. ISO 45001 is internationally recognized, coherent, aligned, and fully integrated with the other ISO standards out there, especially with the quality management system and environmental management system. Quality is 9001, by the way, and environment is 14,001. Those are not on our syllabus, but a company that is ISO 45001 certified is easier to get another certificate then, because what they say is that they say all the ISOs look alike. Like all the ISOs look alike. No, look alike mean they have the same thing. So this is the ISO safety management system model here. But if it was let's say it was environment, the company haven't gotten let's say safety, they wanted to get the management system for environment, it will have the same elements then, right? Things like procurement, contractors, outsourcing. So it's easier to get an ISO if you already have an ISO. It's easier to get two. Well, for another 2 years if you already have for a year already, right? So That's the idea. Now, you don't have to learn this, but it is important. I'll say that again. Remember, it's an open book exam, so you don't have to learn, right? Okay, thanks to Shiva had an answer there, right? So that is correct as well, right? And so you don't have to learn this, but you have to know this. Stranger, you don't have to learn this, but you have to know this. You have to know what you're looking at then, right? Again, no, I'll tell you why. The why is the same. Let me just change the mark, right? The why is the same. What's the why? The why is because the most common question they ask is what is the benefits of a company getting certified to a safety management system? So the question is, well, what does this have to do with this? Well, this is the management system, right? But what do I mean by you have to know this, but you have to learn this, right? So let me tell you what I'm talking about. So what I'm trying to say is this, right? I'm not too sure if you can see this, right? But the elements of ISO then, you could tweak it, you could tailor it for it to become a benefit. And that's what I did here. How did I get 10 benefits, right? So some of the answers is what you all said, like having a management system, but make sure you have less accidents. So you increase the reputation of the company, having it to be a safer company. Having the certificate, you get increased access to contracts and tendering requirements. Some of the things we said is that the company will be better organized from their policy to management review. But what where I got that from? I got it from here. Policy to management review. I could have said policy to continual improvement. So in a way, what I was saying, I don't even see what I'm doing. I am taking these points here, some of them, and I'm turning them into a benefit. Some on the other side, right? So having a formal management system is a positive driver for safety culture with fewer accidents and better hazard awareness, right? It reduces work-related injury, ill health, and death. Because if you have a safer company, then you have less accidents. You get to develop and implement an occupational health and safety policy with occupational health and safety objectives. Now, I got that from right here. Look at it. So I'm actually taking some of these and I'm turning them into a benefit. For example, I can say there will be a greater emphasis on contractor management. That's a benefit. Why is it a benefit? Because remember, these things represent this. These things represent a folder that I would have had my contractors inside here. I would have had the pre-qualification tenders that they did inside there. I would have had the JSAs that they did inside there. I would have had the accident history inside there. So having, organized, what I'm saying is that there's some knockdown benefits. Having organized your contractors, there's some knockdown benefits to that. And you could turn these points into a benefit, which is why I say you have to know this, but you don't have to learn this. See if you understand that. Like you can see, there's going to be a greater emphasis, like the company that is ISO certified. They know their emergency procedures. Like you can say the workers are familiar with the emergency procedures and drills have been done. So see if we can do that, because I did them here, right? Demonstrates the leadership and competence with respect to health and safety management system, reduce occupational health and safety risk. And again, if all these things are done, you may have reduced insurance premiums. I have some here. By the way, that's the end of 2.1 right here. But can anybody take one of these words here and turn them into a benefit? And they start from everywhere, like even up here. Watch it here. When they had here, one of my points was leadership, right? Watch it here. Demonstrate leadership and commitment. But look where I got it from. I got it from here, leadership. So somebody could take worker participation and you can say a benefit is, because next thing, these questions sometimes come for 10, 15 marks. Right? Remember, it's not a recall exam, but you have to know what you're doing. If you have this chart, you can say that a benefit is that there'll be a greater cooperation between leaders and worker participation. You can get that from here. Right? There's a greater emphasis on understanding the history or the context of the organization. Anything here is a benefit, but you have to turn it into a benefit. Right? Take this one from me. Somebody take this one internal audits, and how would you put that as a benefit? That's it easy. Just put in a one sentence in it. How would that be in like how would that be a benefit? Anyone? Internal audits. How is that how is that a benefit for a company?
So excuse and now come back on. I was having some technical difficulties I know going on.
Okay, but it have 20 something people in class. You all really want to pass NIBOSH and you all are talking this morning and you want NIBOSH globally recognized. You come to Shadrach Safety Institute, right? Globally recognized certificate. This is not COSTAT or UTT where when you finish a print a certain given. You have to earn the certificate, right? Those of us who forgot orientation, remember how it is you all are saying nothing as big grown people here this morning.
So if we do an internal audit, we could also correct any problems that occurring presently in the
Very
company.
good. Right. So you see, so that's the benefit, right? Remember telling you folks, NIBOSH is not a recall exam. You have to learn to think. So it's often good that, especially when I'm telling you this is the most common question, right? So that's perfectly said. That's excellent. I think that is a good point, right? You get to correct your own sort of things internally before something on the outside or external audit, right? So see if you can do it because this is, I mean, what makes it last night I had an interview from the last exam, which was September 9 o'clock in the night. The guy was interviewing is a guy from Guyana, Vincent, right? And Vincent was telling me, he said this was really a thinking exam. The question he had to do, they asked was the benefit of a company having inspections? You see, it's not like that in the book even. It's not like that in the notes. This is why it's an open book exam. You know why it's an open book exam? Because the book cannot help you. That's why it's an open book exam. It's like a thinking man's exam, right? So he was telling me like he thought of one benefit. And he said after that one, he couldn't think of another one, but he wanted 10 answers. So, I told him, so what did you do? And he said he did put things, like having an inspection, a benefit is that you satisfy the law, you prevent an accident. And I said, well, you went correct. And that's what it is. These answers are not in any textbook. These answers are really not on the slide. But that's why this is called tertiary education, you see. You see, it's not secondary school. Secondary school is draw and label the digestive system, right? Draw and label the structure of the leaf or whatever have you, right? But tertiary education is not recall. Tertiary education is sort of like a thinking man's game then, right? No, it's not hard once you understand what you have to do because the great thing about thinking is that the answers are in you, right? That's the great thing about thinking. It is how to kind of tap into that, tap into what they're saying, and the answers are in you. Cause look up to now. I mean, last night too, I had some stuff doing for some reports now to do for the ministry. Now it's kind of long, but the thing is, the answer is in me. Kind of like, what did I do? Like, what did I do? What is my training? So what did I do? So the answers is in me now. It's not in a textbook. And the same thing here. The answer for these things are in you. Now I'll give you 9 here. I have 9 here on the slide, but hopefully you understood how to get the water from the well, because the water from the well means you could come to any one of these points here, and you could turn it like documented information. What does that mean? It means the companies will have the documents in order, right? So you have, like if it did training, if you said it, and you could use an example, you could say like a benefit is the company would have documented information organized. You can say if training was done for the last 4 months, that the training record would have shown that, or the details of the trainer, what was his qualification or her qualification, right? So you understand what I mean by documented information and whatever, you could pick something else, you could pick another type of document if you're not happy with training, you could pick something like emergency drills, but emergency is down here already. Well, what about things like the resumes of the workers, right? Their medical history. For those of us who know the companies, the UCOA medical, like, do you have all of that in place, right? And if you do, well, then that's documented information. Tell me what you think. I am actually finished. Like I said, 2.1 is finished. And I could have finished the 2 lessons today, which I said I wasn't going to do. I have a past paper. I actually honestly didn't I didn't open it that much. Let me see what I did with it. I'll open for you. I'm not seeing it on the screen to show it went to then. I'll open another one, right? If that one isn't opening, I'll open another one. Sometimes they're hidden up on Zoom, right? Sometimes they're hidden up. It's not hidden up at all. I guess I'd have to open another one, right? Let me just do that for you all. I'll open one at random. I was telling you all though that um December 2023. Right? That's the first one I see on my screen. Huh? So I just open that one. I don't know why it having it. Right? But I'll tell you when I guess you'll tell me when you've seen it, right? I don't think you've seen it yet. Let me see if I can share it with you all. December 2023. Tell me when you're seeing a pass it in the background. I don't know if it have because what I'm saying, that question is the most common, but that doesn't mean it come in every paper. Right? Yeah, okay, good. All right. Let's just go and see if we can see what this paper is all about, right? Let's take a look at the questions. So the first question is health and safety morals. What was unacceptable about the moral management of health and safety at the nursery? That's such an easy question. They want 11. The answers is in the case study, not in your book, not in the handout. Right? What was positive about the review? Again, folks, the handout cannot help you with that. The book cannot help you with that. You had to go through the case study and see what was positive, right? All right, you're looking for something on policy. If not, like I tell you, those things are not guaranteed questions, but that is in itself the most common question. Benefits of inspection, 7 question. This one doesn't have anything on policy. So you see what you're up against, right? You're up against your paper is kind of unpredictable. I don't know if you want me to try another one. I can try and see what I have on my screen again here. July OB. Just now, I could find another one. No, that folder is actually blank. But the reason for doing this is to tell you, remember your paper is like, the best way to say is like a CXC paper then, right? Having been taught, there's no guarantee that the fraction that you learn in maths coming for the exam. Because remember, your secondary school teacher didn't set the CXC paper, right? So it's kind of the same concept. Having taught now, we don't set the paper is set in the UK. So all I can do is tell you the truth. What was the truth for today? The truth for today is that policy is, like there are questions on policy, which the most common one is management systems, but policy is not. There are lots of past papers that don't have a heavy policy overturned to it, right? See if you see this one, this is another paper. This is August 2023. That's I mean, if you can see this one to the top, this should say August 2023. Yeah?
Yes,
Seen it?
yes, sir.
Okay, good. Let's go down and see the questions again. You see, there are some things we sure about. Moral, legal, and financial does always be there, but let's see, right? Comment on WWP, approach for selecting contractors. This is all in the essay. This is, you'd have to comment what was inadequate, like what they did wrong. So all you need is the passage, as I was telling you all. Right? What was negative about the leadership? No Google could help you with that. Google can help you with that. You just have to go in the passage and see what was negative. Right? So NIBOSH exams are easy, but you have to not fool yourself now. You can't fool yourself and say, well, if we learn the slides, you'll pass. You know what this guy told me last night? And I didn't want to tell him this because it's an interview. He said he took 3 days before the exam to study. And in the day of the exam, he had like a brain drain and he had to go and sleep 11 o'clock in the day. Then he told me he had to sleep again 3 o'clock in the day. And that's just poor technique if you ask me. That's like playing cricket, right? Or football. But before the actual match, you burn out yourself on the day of the match, like you can't perform on the day of the match. Right? So that's like a poor technique to me because you see, you don't need to study. You just need to read. Listen to videos, read, and see what the focus is on. Right? But you don't need to study all those slides. You know, you don't, and this is something we make known that is an open book exam. So anytime you take 3 days to read and study, and then 11 o'clock in the day, which is kind of early, he had to go and take a sleep, right? That's poor technique, I'm telling you. That's like, okay, you're going to run a race. The race is Saturday, but Friday you run the whole thing, and then you tired out yourself for Saturday. Saturday, not all your muscles hurting you. You can't perform on Saturday. You do the thing back to front. The time to perform, you're not performing, right? So, folks, the reason for saying that is because this exam, you had to perform on the day of the exam. Watch it again, no policy questions. So I don't be lying to you all. Have you all ever seen any negligence question? Let's look for it. Let's look for the negligence question. What did I tell you all about negligence? Do you get negligence questions? No. See if you've seen it. Do you get culture questions? Yes. Right? Culture is like the short, one of the short things on the paper. So for this exam, you had to perform on the day of the exam. It's 24 hours. Yeah, there's no too much of studying and recall and putting yourself through the stress before. But on the day you have some stress to go through. It's not too much of stress because a lot of the answers is in the case study right there anyway. Right? Folks, what I'll do, I am actually finished. And I think I'll stop because I'm a voice, right? I have another class coming up. I'll take the role. I'll stop here for today. I am not finished for today. I have classes till 3 o'clock, right? Then I have a meeting till 4. So tonight I'll try to put up this video for you all. And if I could, I would find part 2 of it for next week because next week for you all is no classes here. And we would either continue the other week. The other week when we come back, it wouldn't take a whole class either. That's what I tell you. Don't worry about, some people are worried that they're missing out. You're missing out nothing. If you feel you're missing out, go and read the slides. Right? When I create the course schedule, I created it with room for me to travel. That's how the course schedule is organized, right? The rest of this is very easy. It'll probably take us about 45 minutes to finish. And if you read it out, you read it out in 10 minutes time. Watch where we are at, right? We are right here. So that's 1 slide, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This is really nothing really, right? That's 19, right? So you can't tell me you can't read that out, right? But like I said, I was sending the video. We'll take 45 minutes with it and we'll probably start chapter 3 the following week as well, right? Folks, let me stop the recording here. And I'll kind of ease up a bit, and that'll be it for today.